Hello, everybody, and welcome to our very first episode of The Reluctant Leader of 2025. Tandy, I am so excited to be in conversation with you today, and I am going to be your host. I'm Gurjinder Bhogal, aka The Reluctant Leader, and today I am joined by Tandy. Now, Tandy and I connected towards the end of 2024 via a mutual friend. And I had just started a business with my children, and Tandy has been, in business with his kids for years. Amongst many other things, he's built a super successful business with his children. So this is how we connected. And I'm so excited to talk to you today. So Tandy, over to you to just introduce yourself to everybody who is going to be listening or watching today.
Hi, Gurj. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me, and it was great to connect just before Christmas. And so my name is Tandy. So I've been in the creative industry for 30 years plus, and obviously worked with quite a lot of big brands, big agencies all over the world, and I was a creative at the beginning of my career, and the last probably 18 years I've been more kind of managing projects, high pro projects, and I love what I do. And my recent project was working with my boys, twin boys, and kind of just supporting them and mentoring them into entrepreneurship, especially teaching them the experience I have in marketing, advertising, and social media, and just trying to create a little small brand for them. And we've just been going on a great journey. And then last year, I kind of extended that kind of support, that experience, to set up a new initiative, which is helping the next generation of young British Asian kids in whatever fields they're in, and giving my experience to them.
Amazing. And you know what? We're going to
Thank you.
talk more about that because the little bits that I've seen have been absolutely incredible. And,
Thank you.
one of the reasons why we wanted to have this conversation together was just so that we could let more and more people know about this incredible stuff. And I know one of your core values, Tandy, has always been to teach people, especially young people, young talent, things that they don't get taught in school.
Definitely, and when we set up Rocketsonic back in 2020, it was kind of really just a homeschooling project. During COVID, my wife would do the academia side, and I would do kind of the art side. Obviously, my background's art, and I'd studied art. And I said to my boys would say, what are you working on, Dad? And I said, I'm working on a project, and this is the field I'm in the creative industry. I work in social media. And I said, you know what, let's do something together that, three of us can just, me showing you, how to design a logo, how to create a logo, how to create a brand, and kind of just slowly grow it from ground up. And then, my sons, so I set them a little project. I said, look, come up with a little logo. This is what I do as a living for 15 years when I was a designer and working my way up to a creative director level. And he came up with a logo, and he said, Dad, what do you think? And I said, you know what, that's a great idea. And I said, look, come up with a name now. I love rockets. Okay, brilliant. And previous year, we had gone to NASA and we saw a live rocket launch. So he's always been into
Wow.
rockets, making, rockets out of Lego, astronomy. And I said, that's a great name. And then it just kind of went on from there. And then I said, you know what, let's create a project. Would you want to make it a clothing brand? And then we just kind of, three of us just worked together. And I said, you know what, I'm going to help you how you develop a brand from ground up. And we'll just follow that journey. And then the local paper picked the story up, which was the story that I have always wanted to share, father and son working together and kind of sharing the story of mentoring and helping them and understand stuff that they wouldn't learn at school. And then BBC Radio London picked it up, and then got profiled on BBC Asian Network. And then it just slowly, organically, the story kind of grew, where I've been quite protective of their journey as well, because it's important that you protect the journey. But
Yes.
the most important thing is that they're learning. And they're teaching me stuff now around social media and content creation and stuff like that, and coming to me and saying, Dad, what do you think of this piece of work? You know, I've just done it in, you know, one of the editing software. And I've said, you know what, this is great, because again, there's none of this is taught in schools. So, and then, you know, and now journey has been beautiful. I've enjoyed every minute, just kind of just showing them the way. And at the same time, creating a little bit of a profile for them, but also being protective of that profile,
Yeah.
you know, and just,
Because they're still kids, aren't they?
yeah, they're still kids, right? They're still kids, but you know, they're learning a lot from, you know, as a parent, and I'm blessed to be able to be in that position to do it, you know, and they've just kind of learned a lot from me. Hopefully, you know, they'll go on to do bigger and better things, because, you know, I certainly didn't have anybody I could look up to, especially taking a industry which is obviously not being a lawyer, an accountant, or a doctor, and just believe in whatever you do. It doesn't matter how big or small what you're trying to achieve. And that's the kind of mentality I like to instill in them, you know, to be honest. And hopefully they go on to do bigger and better things, regardless of whether it's starting up another business, which they're already thinking. So, which is
They've
great.
got that entrepreneurial spirit now, haven't they?
Yeah, they have.
And I guess, you know, you've made things sound really easy, that, oh, you know, we started a business, it got picked up
Yeah,
by the press, and
yeah,
we know, and I know now because I'm in that space now, that it
right,
isn't,
yeah,
it's not easy. It's not even easy. It's not easy running your own business, let alone supporting your kids to run their business.
yeah,
So it
yeah.
isn't easy. And I know you've made it sound easy, but I'd really love for you to just let us know about some of these challenges that you have experienced while you've been on this journey with your boys, because I know it's not been easy.
Yeah, it's not been easy, and I tell you the real challenge. From initial kind of, you know, I was a designer for 15 years, so
Okay.
you know, to kind of them saying, you know, let's create a brand. I've not had to go out and look for people, designers and so forth, to
Mm.
create the platform. You know, my background's design, social media, advertising, PR, everything that under the sun that relates to creating a brand. The only thing really that has been the challenge is getting, you know, working with suppliers, especially during COVID, where you couldn't even go and see your supplier. You had to work kind of obviously remotely, you know, get things printed, get things checked, they send it to you, or sometimes we didn't even see some of the stuff that was printed. So really at the beginning it was quite challenging in terms of seeing the quality of the product. I think that was the most challenging stuff. But obviously once we came out of lockdown, you know, seeing your product being printed or being designed and coming to life a little bit more has been kind of a bit more easier now. But again, you know, my background has allowed me to push, you know, the information out there onto you know, social media and stuff like that. So I've not really had kind of the challenges of, I would say, a traditional entrepreneur would have, where he would need to go to a designer, need to go to, you know, a social media consultant and do all that work. So again, I've kind of been lucky to able to use all my
Mm.
skills in all these different areas.
All right, then another question for you, because
Go
this is a
on.
question I get asked by everybody when it
Yeah.
comes to my kids' business. How much of their business do you have to do yourself? Or if you look back
Yeah.
to the
Uh,
start of the business, because obviously,
yeah.
you know, you're a few years in, but if
Yeah.
you look back to the start of when their business was starting,
Yeah.
how much were you actually involved in the kind of operate the doing stuff in the business?
At the beginning, I was probably leading,
Okay.
you know, and showing them.
Yeah.
But what was important was to show them how something like his drawing, which is a drawing that he's done, is actually on their social media platform, on their brand Instagram site, of his little drawing, him actually following that journey and saying, "Wow, I did this little drawing, and now
Mm.
there's like, you know, people wearing a hoodie or a
Yeah.
beanie, you know." But as we've been moving along, what's been really important for me is to show them, you know, and
Mm.
saying, look, this is what we're going to do. and this is what I'm going to push. You know, they also model. They model their clothing brand, right? And they used to do modeling back in 2018, 19. So you know what? They're part of that brand. It's not
Yeah.
just, it's just not pushing that brand out and having, you know, people who obviously I know in the industry who are models, young models, but also they're becoming the face of their brand, which is also important. You know, a lot of, you know, if you talk about branding, you know, personal branding, you know, it's also important to be the face of that brand, because people buy from people. You know, yes, it's a product, but you got to be the face of it. And they, you know, they've got the experience in modeling as well, which they've, you know, blessed to have done. But however, we took that slightly different approach after 2019 and said, you know what, I never really had a role model in my life, you know, in terms of the industry I went into. But I like them to have somebody they could look up to and say, Dad, I want to start this, I want to start that. And I'll just say, no, just go for it. But now they're doing a lot more, you know, they're coming up with ideas on tagging and understanding a lot more content creation. They're getting on to software, editing software, and coming up with some ideas in terms of video content. So now they're a lot more obviously older and more kind of seeing, you know, where that journey has taken us, you know, winning a few awards along the way, going to the House of Parliament, picking up an award, won Young Entrepreneurs of the Year award last year. So they're now thinking, well, hang on here, from something was a drawing, it's now like a nice little organic journey between three of us.
Amazing. And you know what? Like, I could spend literally the whole hour just talking about their business
Yeah,
because it is so incredible and so many incredible things have happened. But you know, one of the things that I always advocate is that you always have to do something until you no longer have to do it. So
correct.
again, with if anyone is thinking of starting a business with their children, 100% you have to be that leader. You almost have to be
Yeah,
that driver
yeah,
until you no longer have to be that leader and driver because your kids kind of take over from it.
correct. No, I
Yeah.
totally agree. You know, and the beauty of it is three of us are doing it together.
I love
That's
that. I love
priceless.
it.
It's, you know,
It is so priceless. And I don't think I've seen many examples of dads and
yeah,
their kids doing stuff together like this, like a business.
yeah,
And, you know, all the examples, it might be the industry I'm in, but all the
yeah,
examples I see is of women.
yes.
So it's so refreshing and so amazing. And I'm so glad I get to share that story as
Yeah,
well.
exactly.
So then, Tandy, moving on to new young blood, because
Yeah,
obviously you started a business with your children, which started to flourish, and then last year you
yeah,
launched New Young Blood, which is
yeah,
a platform that supports young British Asian talents. And
yeah.
I'd really love to know what actually inspired you to create this platform, and what impact do you hope it will have?
So New Young Blood is kind of really an extension of my boys' journey, you know,
Mm.
supporting them, guiding them, mentoring them. And throughout the 5-6 years, you know, my boys they started off modeling and acting as well. And because I'm in that industry, it was a little bit more easier for me to be involved in any kind of commercials and shoots. And I would get producers saying to me, "You've got two young boys, why don't you pull them into this commercial or this little advert?" And I was a bit reluctant, obviously, with social media. But then, and then they had a few opportunities. They did a few modeling shoots. And then I kind of just got to know quite a lot of people within our communities, right? Within our communities who are also trying to push themselves or work within the
Mm.
modeling or acting landscape. And we got to become friends, and we followed each other's journeys, you know, actors, you know, models, young models, you know, kids who are, you know, always trying to break into different sports. And the last 5-6 years, I've just seen some incredible young kids who are doing incredible stuff. They've been in films, they've been in commercials, worked with big brands in terms of modeling. And I thought, you know what, if there's got to be some sort of platform where we can celebrate these young kids, you know. And I looked into it and I thought, there isn't anything out there.
Yeah.
And this is where New Young Blood came about. And I thought, you know what I want to do is just basically create a platform which we celebrate the amazing young talent in all our communities are doing great things, and I've just come across amazing, I would say 80% of these young kids I already knew of for the last 5-6 years. However, some of these young kids, they've been in, Bollywood movies at 10
Wow.
years old. They've been in commercials at 9 years old. They've been modeling for all the big brands, you name it, and I thought, let's celebrate, support them, open doors for them, even it doesn't matter how big or small, everybody knows everybody, right? But we talk a lot about representation. However, I feel that there's so much beautiful young talent out there. We just need to give them a platform, open doors for them, so that we can get more people in young talent in music, in film, in TV, in theatre, in sports, so that we can say, we're so proud of these youngsters doing their amazing things. And since June last year, I've kind of showcased nearly 40 young amazing kids from
Wow.
from different areas, and
Yeah.
I'm just so proud of every one of them in terms of what they're doing.
That is so amazing. And it's so true because, we've grown up with traditional role
Yeah,
models and times are changing.
yeah,
And a lot of our children are seeing non-Asian role models on social media.
yeah,
And it is time to change that so that they see what they want to see on social media, which is more South Asian people doing
yeah.
non-traditional roles.
Correct.
And
You're spot on.
even like if I use my son as an example, he wears a patka
Yeah,
and he has not seen, and he plays football, but
yeah,
he has not seen a single patka wearing person playing football. So for
yeah,
him, for many years, he didn't think it was for him
mm, yeah,
because he wasn't represented enough. Every football match, every football game he saw, there was no one that looked like him. And now he's starting to see how he can be a leader in that space.
yeah,
He's starting to see we share, thanks to you, actually, we share more children, more patka wearing footballers,
yeah,
kids that are doing what he wants to do. And now he knows what is possible. And I really feel with new young blood, we're literally showing the next generation what is possible for them, that there is so many possibilities out there for them.
yeah. We need to inspire them. Talk about football.
Mm,
We've had Manveer Singh, at Milton
that's
Keynes
it.
Gone.
Yeah.
We profiled him back in June. I
Mm,
knew about his journey. Spoke to his parents and said, incredible. And we need, you know, inspire the next generation and say, what, I can do that. I can do that.
absolutely. Yeah.
And every one of them is going through an amazing journey, and New Young Blood is there to support them, showcase them, celebrate them, inspire. My boy's journey, obviously inspiring a lot of people as well, in terms of what we've
100%.
been through.
Yeah.
And just going back to that role model that you mentioned, we've started the only role model series, and this is something that is also important, and something that I spoke to my boys, before we started New Young Blood, and said, who is your role model within our community? The answer was zero, no one,
Yeah.
and that was very sad because,
Ronaldo.
yeah, Ronaldo, right? In football, Ronaldo, Messi, and I thought, where there's so much rich, people within our communities who are doing
There's
incredible
so
stuff,
many.
in sport, music,
Mm,
acting, you name it, and I felt that we need to educate our kids that you can become an actor, like Saj Raja, who we had at the beginning of our role model series that we've started. So we've started a series of role model series, which we interview, not me, the kids. So the
I
kids,
think I've seen this.
yeah.
Yeah.
So in June we did one with Saj Raja, who's an amazing actor, mainstream actor. His film had just come out, and Syra, who's done a few Bollywood movies. She's 12 years old, and said, let's get Simi's daughter Syra to interview Sarge. So you're bringing that, closing that gap, you know, in terms of somebody
Yes.
on the TV screen and a young girl thinking, I want to become like him or her. Let's
Yeah.
close that gap and then let them talk about the experiences and let them share their experiences being in an industry that they're inspiring to be in. You know, and since then that's grown. We've done Sarge, an actor. We've done Rita Mora, beautiful Rita Mora, a musician who's been in the industry in music for 20 plus years. We've done Maya Lakhani during the summer, last summer. She was a surprise guest on BBC Introducing at Glastonbury. You know, and we had some of our beautiful young artists, music artists like Dia, interview her and say,
Wow.
how did you get onto Glastonbury? I want to get
Yes.
to Glastonbury. And she's 14 years old, Dia is, you know, and we've also done Gurjinder Sangira, double cup winner, coach in football, amazing things. And my boys interviewed her about her journey, you know, coaching a boys team and winning two cups last year. So you know what? Now they know who Gurjinder is. Now they know who Rita is. Now they know who Sarge is. So you know that is the role models that we should be inspiring to become.
100%.
And we've
Yes.
just done one with Shazad Nawaz, MBE, a deaf British entrepreneur. On Tuesday, we've just done one with him, where my boys interviewed him with Yana, who's an amazing young entrepreneur as well, at 10 years old, who's got her own lip brand. So you know what? It's so important that we should make sure that our kids understand that there are role models in our community and let them have that conversation with them.
100%. And you know what? I think it's absolutely amazing because guess what? The people that we think are our role models, they get enough exposure and
Correct,
they don't need these
correct,
platforms as
correct.
much as these rising stars need these platforms. So if
That's
you
right.
feel you know a rising star that could actually benefit from one of these platforms, I really, really do stress to everybody listening to really reach out to you, Tandy,
Yeah.
because I think
Thank
it's
you.
amazing what you guys are doing.
No, thank you. And you know, we're also supporting the young talent. We've got Mayhek, who's an amazing boxer. You know, during the summer, she was invited by the Amateur Boxing Association to fight in Sweden.
Wow.
And she said, look, Tandy, I'm being invited to Sweden. I've been invited by the British Amateur Boxing Association. I'm off to Sweden. And I said, love to support you in any way. You know, under the new Young Blood banner.
Mm,
And she came back and said, Tandy, I won gold.
look at that.
You know, I won gold. And then 3 weeks later, she's with, you know, 7 times world champion Formula One Lewis Hamilton in a documentary with him.
Wow.
And it's on the platform. We shared
Yeah.
it, you know, and she's talking about her journey of becoming a boxer, and her ambition is to fight for the 2028 LA Olympics, you know, and she's an actor, she's an amateur footballer. So let's all get behind her, support her on her journey to become,
Mm,
you know, that boxer.
absolutely.
And otherwise that dream, unfortunately, can die
Will
very
just go to the
quickly.
wayside, and it's so
Yeah.
easy. It's
It's
so
so easy.
easy to just give up on your dreams,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
if a few of us get behind and support, it gets harder to give up on those dreams.
Yeah, you know, and they'll feel like their dreams. If you support them and guide them and mentor them, then they feel, you know, that dream could be something that could come alive, you know,
Yeah.
at a young age. But long as they've got guidance and mentoring and support, you know, we can then say, okay, she is going to become the next, you know, female South Asian boxer at a mainstream level, you know, and then she will inspire the next, and then the next, and the next. Then you'll get a whole amount of people following her, and then that's where your representation comes into play, right? Because there was an
100%,
influx of
yeah.
these kids coming through, you know, and not just one or the other every couple of years, or you know, you see an influx of one coming through, and then 10 years later you see another one. That's, you know, there's so much rich young kids out there.
And you know, just as much as we support brands like the real designer brands,
Yes.
and we share them all over our social media. If there's a sale on, if our, you know, high street has got a sale on, let's try and do the same
Yeah.
with this new young blood
Share.
that is coming through.
Share.
Let's share them. Let's give them some airtime that they deserve, because guess what? The big brands and the high street brands, they don't need our airtime,
They
but
don't.
actually this new young blood to really fulfill their dreams, they need it.
Yeah, no, they do. They need the love and the exposure and the likes and the shares, because it all revolves around, you know, exposure, PRing,
Yeah.
you know,
And they are our future, right? They are the future. They are our future. So as much as we can do to take them to wherever they want to go, it's just going to benefit pretty much everybody around them.
yeah, 100%, you know, and every journey is so inspiring, you know, for me and my kids. When my kids see, you know, some of the amazing young talent doing their you know, their work in whatever fields they're in, you know. And actually, funny story, I was talking to Syra's mum, Simi. She's very part of the team. During Christmas, I was sitting down, and an advert came up. Her daughter's her youngest daughter is 5 years old. She's just starting in an EE ad. So
Wow.
I'm sitting there and watching TV, and an ad popped up, and I messaged her. I said, I've seen Shaiba again on TV. And she goes, yeah. You know, and this is what really excites me, and I get proud of. And normally a lot of the young kids that I know of who are in commercial and ads, and I see them on TV, I know probably most of them, but it's so refreshing to see. And like you say, let's support them, share them, like them, and push them up that chain for them to think, you know what, I can do this.
Anything's possible. Yeah.
Anything, you know, I actually say to my boys, make the impossible possible.
I love that. I love that. So Tandy, we've spoken a lot about kids
Yes.
and children.
Yes.
Let's loop back a little bit now. Let's
Yes.
talk about Tandy.
Me?
Yeah,
I actually want to.
No, I don't want to talk about. Yes, let's talk about you. Let's talk about you and your journey. And I would love to know what has actually inspired your journey. What's inspired you to start your career, pursue your career, start a business in kind of branding, creativity, digital marketing? Can you take us back a little bit and share with us some of the inspiration around why you do what you do?
So let me rewind back. Actually, at 16, you know, I enjoyed
Just a few years
school.
ago.
Yeah, just a few years ago, you know, and I kind of enjoyed doing art. You know, that was probably one of my strongest subjects, art, O level, A level. And at 16, I said to my parents, I want to go into an industry, you know, a creative industry. And they'd say to me, what's that? Is it just kind of drawing, you know, fine art? I said, no, it's graphic design. Never heard of it.
What's graphic design?
Yeah, what's graphic design? And spoke to my uncles. No, you're not going to get, that's not going to make you money. And I thought, you know what, it's something I really enjoy. And then I just kind of just went for it. You know, my parents have always been supportive in terms of what area I went into. And then at 18, I went to art college, spent 2 years at art college. And then after art college, I went on to doing my degree in graphic design, which I specialized in. And then I thought, that's it. I'm in the big wild world now. I need to find a job. I looked at my parents. Obviously, I couldn't, because obviously I couldn't say to them that I'm in an industry now, which is an unknown industry. I don't have anybody to look up to. And I spent 6 months working for a design agency, which was I used to travel from East London to South London. And for 6 months, I just needed to learn my trade. You know, it was voluntary. You know, at that time, the Apple Mac had just come into play. So I need to learn a lot of new skills. Spending 4 years at art college, you learn all to be kind of very creative. And then as soon as I came out, it was like, well, hang on here, I need to find a job now. But then I spent 6 months, and this is why I always say to any youngsters who are trying to get into the creative industry is, if you can get experience, just do it. Don't think about money. Just do it for 6 months, 3 months, because that's the most value experience you're ever going to get. And to this day, it was the most valuable experience, because after 6 months, I spent 5 years in my first job working for a sports marketing agency. And they had clients like, all the sports brands, Harlequins Rugby Club, NEC. So I spent 5 years on my first job at a sports marketing agency, which I loved. It was amazing working with great creatives, and a creative director to this day. He's like 70 plus. I still contact him. I still speak to him. I still have respect for him, and he was probably the one who really shaped me in terms of my role at the agency, in terms of a junior designer all the way working up to a senior creative. And I learned a lot from him, and he taught me, presentation skills. He taught me how to present. He taught me how to be creative and really learn my craft to the T. And that he set me up. He was, I say this to him, and he is an incredible creative director that I've worked with. And then I spent probably the next few years working for a few large brands, large agencies. And then in 2001, I set up a small agency, which I was part of a bigger, larger print agency, and was there for 4 years. We had some amazing clients there. And then in 2001-2, decided to go into more consultancy, more kind of client-facing roles, where more probably not, I would say, hands-on, being a creative, but being more hands-off. So I lead teams, I lead projects, lead the creatives, lead the strategists. And that's what I've really been doing for the last 18 years. And I've been blessed to have kind of worked on some amazing campaigns, from big brands like Adidas, Google, Microsoft, Ralph Lauren, Tommy Hilfiger, Estee Lauder, World Remit, Slaughter and May. Yeah, I think the list is just something I could just rally off.
Endless, yes. And obviously, it's been a journey of evolution, right, with your journey. And how has it felt like now looking back? How has it felt following your own path?
Looking back, you know what? That's somebody else asked me the question. It's only during the summer I sort of looked back and I thought, you know what? I've never looked at it in a way that thought, you know what? From being 16 and going through a journey that was unknown, and then being in a situation where I've had the ability to work and adapt and work in different areas of marketing. I thought, you know what, I've never really appreciated it up until now. It's not until you write it down and share bios and things like that, and share information around, where my career has been, especially recently, obviously last year when I set up New Young Blood. Because obviously on the back of my journey and showing credibility around the work that I have been doing, I had to be a lot more open in terms of where my career's been, because I'm quite very private, and unless you ask me about my career, I will tell you. If somebody else asked, if nobody asked me, I wouldn't really tell them, and it's only recently that I thought, what I've probably gone through and what I've actually done, and that's what I want to let my kids know as well, so they can go on to say, we can do whatever we can do in our lives, and that's kind of spurred me on and learning new technology, AI, AR, which I love doing. And I think the most important thing is enjoy what you do, love what you do.
Yes.
The
Life
minute,
can be long when
yes,
you're doing something you don't love.
there you go. And to this day, I love what I do. Whether it's working with my boys, whether it's, my day-to-day job, whether it's now obviously new young blood, these are the three kind of things that I'm very passionate about, and continue kind of pushing, and creating new boundaries, and doing new things. That's what I like doing. That's why being a creative, you've got to come up with new ideas, right?
Come up with new fresh ideas, right?
Yeah,
Fresh
you got it.
ideas.
Yeah.
And out of all these years, so there's been a few years
Just a
between
few.
obviously you starting and everything that you've done, even more recently with your boys and New Young Blood. But what has been one of your most transformative experiences? What's been that real transformational experience that you recognize and you'd like to share?
I think it's been kind of adapting in an ever-changing industry. From starting off as a designer where you had the Apple Mac, and then you had social media come into play with Facebook, working on campaigns that moved from when I started to digital print.
Oh my God, we used to do direct mail.
There you go.
We're not that old, but we did start off in direct mail.
Yeah, exactly. So
and telemarketing and
there you
those
go.
kind of campaigns, right?
There you go. Yeah, exactly. So my background was traditional marketing, print, right? And then early 2000, then we started seeing a lot of Facebook and stuff. And then what I had to do during the early 2000s, when I was in traditional marketing, print, I made a real hard call saying, I need to make that jump into digital. Because otherwise I would have been still doing print. And God knows, if I'd been still in that industry back then. But that was the most change that I had to make. And I'm glad I made it in early 2000, because I had to adapt. I had to learn new skills. Social media came into play. And I remember actually at one of the agencies, a large agency, where the MD, he said, look, I'd love you to run this project for I think it was Nokia back in the day. And my background was traditional print. So I met the MD, and we met for a little coffee, and he said, look, I'm going to work through a project. Let's work together on a project. And we met up for a coffee, and he got his laptop out and said, this is the project. It was pure digital marketing, pure, for Nokia. I looked at it and thought, I'm going to have to do this. If I don't do it, I'm never going to get into an area which I really want to get into. He said, what do you think? And I said, okay, let's do it. And then I think it was on a Friday we met, on a Monday I started, and that was my first journey of getting into digital marketing. And to this day, I still contact him, speak to him. He runs one of the largest agencies in the world in the US, and we still talk. And yeah, that was another defining moment in my career, that I always look up to him and say, thank you for giving me that opportunity. And sometimes you've got to take these opportunities, because they won't come again.
You have to, yes. And especially, like you said, it's that adaptability to change, right? You will not be here in decades' time, because the speed at which the world is evolving is incredible. And if you think the world that has moved fast, the world that is yet to come is moving even faster. So being adaptable to change is so, so important. And Tandy, how do you balance everything? Like, I thought mums were great at multitasking, but how are you balancing, your role as a creative professional in your own right, being a dad, and being all of these other things, like advocates for social issues? Like, you're currently working on a really huge campaign as well that I don't think you've mentioned yet. So if you can let us know how you're balancing all of this stuff.
I think it's all to do with, I think going back to what we said earlier, is love what you do. I love being a dad, obviously. And, our journey with Rocketsonic is working with my kids, and I'm going to love. New Young Blood is something that I'm also doing with my kids, because they're also face of that platform. They're doing stuff, and we share some of their stuff that they're doing. They're at a conference in February talking about their journey, their guest panel talking about their kidpreneurship journey. So they're also part of that New Young Blood mix of pool of amazing young talent. So those two things work hand in hand. And then my career, in my day-to-day job, I love doing. So I think it's all about just enjoying what you do, and you kind of divide your time up, making sure that you kind of put as much effort into these things, because otherwise, it just like I was saying earlier, if you don't enjoy what you do, then there's no point, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And looking ahead then,
Yeah.
looking ahead, future aspirations, what are your goals for the future? So you've got rocket science, you've obviously got your own career, you've got rocket science, you've got new young blood, and then you've got your kind of advocacy work that you're
Yes.
doing to end violence against women and girls. So
Yes.
what are your goals? What does the future look like for you?
So in terms of Rocketsonic, we're just going to organically push the story out, which is the most important thing for me. It's just inspiring, and the boys inspiring other young boys and girls, and sharing that story is the most important thing.
Mm,
You know, it's not, all about selling, because selling will always come, you
yeah.
know. It's all about sharing our journey together, inspiring the next generation, well, the younger generation or even older generation, right? And New Young Blood is also about inspiring young kids, even older kids, right, who had a talent but think, you know what, there is somewhere a platform where we can share and celebrate these amazing young talent. And with New Young Blood, just want to grow, share more talent, do more collaborations. Last year, we were blessed to have collaborated with the South Asian Heritage Month, where some of the kids actually did some videos to support, Free to Be Me campaign. We did a collaboration with a casting director for getting more South Asians on Britain's Got Talent.
Oh, wow.
We did a book review, a collaboration with Manisha Taylor, MBE. We did. We just showcased, obviously, Shazad Nawaz, MBE. His book, where my boys got his book, was sent to them for them to read. It's just creating that, love for each individual person who's doing incredible stuff, and then kind of knowing them as well. And we've got some amazing stuff hopefully this year as well planned to kind of organically grow. I think this is the most important. We grow organically and trying to open up opportunities for some of these amazing, especially in sports or even music, and give them a platform to share their music,
To
and
share their love, their talents, their
share their
passion.
love,
Yeah.
and we've got some ideas of doing mentoring for them, support in terms of mentoring, which is also important. And who knows, maybe an end of year event to celebrate, which would be amazing to put an event. We talk to these youngsters who are in their fields about their journeys, and we listen to their journeys and share content and get them to feel that, they're going to follow their passion and dream and get to where they want to get to.
Oh, I
And
love that. I love that. So a very exciting year ahead
very
and a very
exciting.
busy year ahead.
Yeah, busy year ahead, and then obviously I'm part of the team for Zara
Mm.
Alina campaign to end violence against women and
Yes.
girls. She was a very dear friend of mine, and last year we kind of were invited to a few awards where the awards were in memory of Zara Alina. So that's something that I'm also involved in with her aunt Farah, who's an amazing woman in terms of her campaigning to end violence against women and girls. So wherever I can support, lead, and help, that's also something very close to me. That not only me, my family, because she is a dear sister to me, and we've got things that we want to push out in terms of raising awareness and so forth.
I
And
love that. And I love how you, amongst everything else you're doing, you're still carving out that time to be able to give back and use your platform to do good in society as well, which is really, really well needed.
Yeah.
Now, we are coming to the end
No
of
worries.
our conversation, and obviously we
Perfect.
could talk for ages, and we
Yes, we
said this
could.
at the start as well. This
Yeah.
almost needs to be like a three-part series.
Yes.
But unfortunately, time isn't on our side.
No
But
worries.
I do want to end with a couple of things. So I have got
Yeah.
a couple of things I want to end with. First one is, what would your advice be? And it might be to other parents, it might be to other children. What would your advice be to people out there? What's the biggest advice you can give to anybody out there that might be listening?
I think if you've got an idea,
Hmm.
that you've been thinking about doing, for weeks, months, years, just go for it.
Yeah.
The
Mm.
difficulty always is you have an idea and you always think, I'm going to do it. I'm going
You
to do it.
talk yourself out of it, don't
You talk
you?
yourself out of it.
Yeah.
I know the biggest hurdle is from having an idea and jumping that hurdle to actually doing that idea, right? But sometimes you just got to go for it. And I know, again, we go back to being in a fortunate position to do that. But there's also, I'm also there as guiding and mentoring and supporting. Always reach out to say, look, I've got an idea, what do you think? And I'm always open to listening to ideas, or even giving my experience in terms of anybody who's got an idea, however big or small it is. And just go for it. That's all I say to.
Yeah.
I say this to my kids. If you've got an idea, let's just go for it. There's nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose. And sometimes it just takes some messy action to get
Yes.
stuff done. It doesn't have to be fully structured and the right
Yeah.
thing to do. Just some messy, fast, messy action is all it takes.
Yeah, and I see a lot of that because obviously I'm mentor for young entrepreneurs for Virgin Startup, and I see a lot of amazing young entrepreneurs who've got great ideas, great startups, and sometimes they have a mental block of certain areas. And again, I love mentoring young kids as well as young entrepreneurs. But yeah, just don't put blockers up. Just go for it,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. And
Amazing.
and I love seeing stories like that of people with like just a little idea and all of a sudden it's like gone viral, and you think, you
Yeah.
know
It's
what, I
just
remember that
grown.
idea.
Amazing. And it is, and you just don't know what's possible. You just don't know what is
Yeah,
possible for you if you just take that
yeah,
first step.
yeah.
And then the last question, Tandy. Now, I know there's lots and lots of projects and stuff that you do work on, lots of things that you're involved in. How is just the best way for somebody to connect with you and get hold of you and speak to you about any of these projects?
So they can get hold of me through LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I've also got a website, tandyvirdee.com. Do connect, be great to connect with young, amazing talent, which is obviously the main focus for me. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, whether it's modeling, acting, sports, and let's share those stories.
Yes.
Let's just share those stories and get get them out there and get lots of support around it. And yeah, and be great to see even more people, young kids doing great things.
Amazing. Thank you. And I have dropped some details below as well of how
Perfect.
you can connect with Tandy. So do reach out if any of this resonated, if you want to find out any more, if you want to get involved, or if you just want some support, then do reach out, because what you've heard in this last hour is literally just a fraction of what
Yes.
you
Yeah,
can hear.
we didn't even touch on my Punjabi music scene.
There
Working
you
in that
go.
scene. There's
There
so
you
much.
go.
Like you
So
said, we could have spoken all day.
all day long about it. So 100%, if you want to find out more, if you want to hear about the Punjabi singing, any of that stuff, I urge you guys to reach out to Tandy. It might just change your life. I think the first conversation we had went on for a while because there was
Yes,
just
it
so,
did.
we were both like,
It did.
like
Yeah,
so
yeah.
much to kind of talk about. So Tandy, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing to
Thank you.
promote all the initiations that you are actually promoting, because they are so needed. And I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me and to share some of your amazing knowledge. It's been so appreciated, and hopefully it's benefited a lot of our listeners as well. So thank you so much.
No, thank you. I'm honored to be invited. And obviously, you're doing incredible work as well, obviously, with your daughter. And I'm so looking forward to that journey as well. But,
Yes.
and I'm sure we will definitely connect again. face to
100%.
face.
Yeah, 100,
Yeah,
110%. Thank
brilliant.
you so much, Tandy,
No,
honestly.
thank
And
you.
maybe, you never know, look out for part 2 of this
Yes,
conversation,
who
which
knows?
might
Yeah.
just happen at some
Oh,
point. You never know.
definitely, definitely. Always up for that.
Amazing.
Thank
Tandy,
you.
thank you so much for your time. And everybody who's listened and watched this episode, thank you all so much for watching and your continued support as well. And we'll be back with another episode very soon.
Brilliant.
Thank
Lovely.
you.
Bye.